I never really thought about healing, and that for a long time I come out and just doing all the, like what I just said, hiding the scared little boy that's hurt, and going around speaking everywhere and doing everything, and not worrying about healing, not worrying about myself and my healing journey, but worrying about everyone else and trying to hide it.
Welcome to the next episode of the Impact Policy Podcast. We've just wrapped the next episode with Dylan Voller. I want to take the opportunity to thank Dylan for coming in and sharing the space with us, and for having the yarn that we had. There's a trigger warning to this episode that we talk about issues around suicide, addiction, mental health, and trauma, many issues that might be triggering for anybody that's listening. So I want to state that now at the forefront for people to be conscious that there is a trigger warning to this episode for issues that people might find sensitive. There's also names of people that are referenced that are no longer here with us today as well. I want to acknowledge that. I want to reference that here too. Many people would know Dylan Voller's name as one of the survivors of the systemic trauma and abuse that happened at Dondale Youth Detention Centre. He's still very much navigating his healing journey today, and despite that has taken the time to come and to sit with me and share some of that journey on the basis that maybe one person listening to this might take something positive away from it, whether it's somebody that's a policy maker, whether it's a parent of a young person who's struggling, or if it's a young person themselves that's navigating their own journey too. So I really got a lot out of listening to this and sharing this space with Dylan, and I just want to thank him as well for taking the time to share this piece of himself with the world. Despite everything he's been through and overcome and survived, for someone to still sit here, no strings attached, and share that piece of themselves in the hope that there's some sort of impact from that, you can have nothing but respect for a person for doing. So thank you again to Dylan. I really hope you enjoy this episode. Thanks. Welcome back to the next episode of the Impact Policy Podcast. Today I'm joined by the brother, Dylan Voller. He's taken his time to come down, sit with us, and have a bit of a yarn, share some of his story. To be honest, it's a privilege to be able to get to sit down and hear a bit about your story, bro, and your life and where you're at. Like many people that know your name, you know, they'll remember the first time that they heard that and saw that. And I know, you know, that always rings true with me whenever I think about that, you know, sitting down and seeing and hearing some of that sort of part of your story when it became so public. It's stuck with many people. But I think one thing I'd really like to sort of get out of this podcast is people to really understand, I guess, some of that story, but also where you're at now and what the future can look like. You know, we had a bit of a yarn before this around some of the, I guess, support that you've had in your life that has been positive with different services and stuff like that. And that's good. You know, I think there's a lot of people and organisations that need to know how to work with young fellas that have been through a lot of stuff in their lives. But all that aside, I just want to kick back and have a yarn and share some space together, bro. So thank you so much for taking your time to come here.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me on here. It's good, been talking for a while now, so it's good to finally get it happening.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe a good way for us to kick off is many people might know that might be familiar with yourself from the Four Corners stuff that came out a few years ago from your time in Dondale. At the moment, there's a massive campaign in New South Wales around trying to raise the age of criminal responsibility.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that probably rings really true with you, because I remember hearing in one of your other podcasts your first time that you was locked up, you were 11, maybe.
Yeah.
But maybe we start by you just sharing a little bit about your story, bro.
Yeah, so obviously my name's Dylan Voller. I was born in Adelaide, grew up in Alice Springs. I'm a Nuttinjetty man. But yeah, grew up in Alice Springs, adopted into Ardenda tribe. Grew up with not the best sort of environment, but not the worst. Grew up with my just with my mum. My dad was sexually abused by him as a young kid, so that stuff, I guess I didn't really grow up with a dad, but just grew up with that trauma and those sort of emotions and feelings, and as a young kid not knowing how to navigate it and stuff like that, which grew into behavioral problems. I got diagnosed with ADHD and stuff like that. So it was I was definitely no perfect angel. Used to swear a lot and misbehave if I was having concentration problems. I had ADHD, so I was um, at school was pretty hard with my concentration and stuff like that. It's not that I like purposely going out and getting in trouble or running a mic at school or not listening, but if I'd have trouble concentrating and stuff like that, I'd just turn to negative ways of trying to deal with my mental health problems or deal with my trauma, and that would be to play up or become distracted out of the class and the rest of the class and stuff like that, and I'd end up getting in trouble. Like my behavior would just be ways of getting into trouble through my behavior as a kid, and it was that sort of actions that first led me into trouble. So through that, like my childhood, things happened. I moved to Alice Springs, I'd say when I was about 6, maybe a little bit before that, and I started going to primary schools there. Moved with just my mum and my big sister. My mum was a bit of an alcoholic, drinking a lot, wasn't really the best mother, and that she'd always be violent, not towards us but around us while she was drinking. That a lot of incidents I had to watch. One incident I remember quite clearly was when the police was coming there because she was so drunk. They were trying to take us out of her care, so she started standing up with knives and stuff like that, throwing knives at police and spitting on police. So I remember that as one big major incident with my mum with the police and stuff like that. And then I just had my times in welfare when she went into jail. She went into jail for a bit herself, and we went into welfare and stuff like that, me and my sister. And then that's when the experiences and stuff like that of drugs, alcohol, seeing all the older boys and how they were living life and what they were doing, and that kind of that started my whole life of being just a troubled young kid with behavioral problems to looking up to these boys, thinking, well, my mum and that's not the best. My son look after me. I got this, that happening in childhood home. I started looking at the things that they were doing. It took me a bit longer to start doing those actions, but watching them and stuff like that. And that'd be, the older boys, they'd be 17. I would have been at the time probably 10, 11, 9, stuff like that. And, they were sitting around and they'd be sitting around with like pornographic magazines and smoking bongs in their room in this foster house and stuff like that, and they'd be like showing me all this sort of stuff.
So this was when you'd left, like when you'd been removed?
Yeah, well, my mum went to jail. I can't remember exactly how long it was for a bit, and we got put in this place, me and my sister, and that would have been when I was about maybe 8 to 9, something around then.
Yep.
And just watching all the older boys do all that sort of stuff, and I had a couple of drawers and a cigarette, stuff like that, but nothing really serious. But I'd always seen my mum smoking weed and stuff like that. Like as a young kid, I didn't know nothing about anything heavy drugs. Obviously I didn't know everything about weed and stuff like that, but I'd seen weed, I'd seen her smoking bong and stuff like that before, but I never really knew about heavy drugs, not even as a 15, 14-year-old kid. I didn't know anything about like meth and stuff like that at that age, and meth ended up playing a big part in my life and my story as well. But at that age, and being a kid from a small town like Alice Springs, I didn't know anything about that sort of stuff. So my mum kept all that sort of stuff away from us. I didn't really see that, but alcohol or drinking was still bad. I started getting in trouble. It would have been about when I was 11, I'd say. I got my first charge. I was just having behavioral problems at home, and I was just playing up with my mum, arguing with my mum, and I threw a rock through the front window, and the window smashed, and she rang the police on me and had me charged for smashing her front window because the police had told her that if I'd got charged, that apparently she'd get help, they'd fix the window for free and she wouldn't have to pay for it. And then from that day on, I got taken in, I got charged, I got reached bail, this and that, and that's from there is when my criminal history started.
Cycle started from there, eh?
Yeah, and then it would just be like incidents like I got put into, like, so none of my charges were ever like right from the start. They were never breaking enters. I'd never broken into a house in my life. They were never going out and stealing cars on purpose. They were never going out and doing things like that. It was all, most of my charges at a young age, right up until I got a bit older, were all just assault things like that, not from going out and fighting, but like my second offense, for example, was going to school. They just, I'd have been about 11 and that, or maybe 11, and they put me in a school in Alice Springs as for people with behavioural problems. So you go there and they know deal with you, and it was only me and one other kid that went to this school, and I already knew this other kid from an old school that I used to go there, and growing up he had behavioural problems. And so what happens, I went to this school this morning, and because they had me on rules that when I go to school, I had a phobia of swallowing tablets, and they diagnosed me with ADHD, so they had me on Ritalin tablets, and I didn't used to like taking it because obviously now knowing it as an adult that's speed based, it's got pretty much speed in it, and it's not really good. And I used to take it, and it used to really fuck with my appetite, make me not be able to eat, make me real sick at the end of the day. Like I could take it in the morning, but I'd be sick or really bad after school when I'd get back from school and stuff like that. But they used to make it because I couldn't swallow it, they used to crush it up, put it in the cup. When I'd go to school in the morning, it'd be, if you don't swallow that tablet, you're gonna have to leave. You can't stay at school.
Yeah, wow.
And I used to have to swallow it. But so I had bad ADHD, so I went to school one morning, and one of my good mates who lived around the corner from me, like my good mate, I'd go around there, hang out with him all day pretty much when I'm not at school. His bike got stolen from someone, and we didn't know who it was, but when I went to school, this boy had my mate's bike, and I just told him, so that's my mate's bike, blah blah blah. And I tried getting the bike back, and he pulled out, like, because it was out in the yard, he pulled out a big brick and started trying to threaten me with a brick. This is when it was only like 11-year-old kids in the schoolyard, and tried to threaten me with a big brick, and I got scared, and I ran back in. I ran into the little kitchen area, and I grabbed the knife and started threatening him with a knife in the schoolyard. But obviously the teachers, me being Dylan, him being him, the teachers just literally grabbed me, restrained me, called the police on me when I was just literally getting threatened with a brick and getting chased around the school. So I grabbed the knife, and then I got charged with that, got put in the jail, and then it just kept going downhill from there. When I'd get bail, I'd go into welfare, and I didn't want to be in welfare. I had situations in welfare where I was getting assaulted by carers and stuff like that, and I didn't want to be there. So I'd run away from welfare and end up back on the street running around with the big boys, and then there's another breach of bail charge. I'll be back in jail. I'd get back out, bailed to welfare. I'd breach it again because I wouldn't want to be in welfare. Like, I'd just keep 100%. On breaching it. So I just 100%. Kept breaching, and I'd end up back in jail. And then a majority of my charges ended up calculating to being breaches of bail, if you know what I mean, because I just kept getting out, breaching. So like majority of my criminal history would have been from, if I have to be honest, 85% of it would have been assault, prison guards in custody. 85%, if you look at my criminal history, is assault by way of spitting, or assault by after getting restrained, turning around and trying to grab back or something like that, and then you're getting assault or property damage. For example, I got 6 months added to my jail sentence when I was about 13 or 14 because they put me in isolation, and I peeled some paint off the wall, and it left a big circle in the wall of some paint where I ripped the paint off. 6 months in jail for that.
How old were you?
13, 14. Like, cunts don't get 6 months for that, for touching kids.
100%.
And you can get people like that, and you're getting longer. Like, it's just the way the system works. It's like they know who they target and how they're going to target it to make them worse. So that, like, like they say that racism, and like, for example, I'm going to use it like this is an excuse. They say that racism doesn't exist no more, blah blah blah, because it's not like how it is in the old day. How it's not like how it is in the old days. But when they have to realize it, everyone has to realize that the racism is still here, and the way that they target people is the policies and regimes. So they're using policies and regimes to hide the direct racism, so that they know that there's policies and regimes that are specifically designed that target black fellas more than it, or
absolutely
any person of color more than it would target a non-indigenous person, so that they know, like, for example, like with all the intervention stuff in the Northern Territory, they knew that, for example, they knew that a lot of those things that they brought in with that anti-intervention was going to set a lot of indigenous males up by getting them locked up with some of that stuff, like the alcohol crimes. They know for a fact that especially indigenous people would do suffer with alcohol abuse and stuff like that, and it's not a thing that we kind of chose to, especially with drugs and alcohol. It's not something that we chose to add right at the start to say, oh, we like drugs, we want to use it. It came here and got given to us and got brought to us, like, you know what I mean. So that's where all that sort of stuff came in, and now we obviously, like, it's like with anything. If you're someone that, you know, aren't used to something and you start using it, it could be anything. You become addicted to it, no matter what it is. Like, for example, that's why doctors and that, where even just anyone, say if you broke your arm or something and you go to the hospital and you have to take some good medication for a couple of days or after a surgery, even those things have become addictive. So
Totally.
it's like anything like that's addictive, and everyone knows that as blackfellas we have a very addictive personalities. Once it's really hard to get off of something. So I think that's where, for me too, it was a big like my whole life went upside down was when I started using meth, and that's one of the biggest things that I try and push, like especially with other brothers and that, for my, like, that goes through my stuff, or from community and other black fellas, like drugs and that is the worst mistake that I probably made. Like, that took me from, you know, having little minor offenses of doing the stuff that I was doing to just like hanging out with boys, jumping in the back of stolen cars and just cruising around with the boys drinking, to becoming violent. And that's what led to my first serious charge of robbery, and that, where I was 15. I just turned 16, and some of the older people put a pipe to my mouth and got me to have a few puffs, and I'd already been a kid with anger problems and mental health problems. So as soon as I touched that, I guess that just sent me into a
spin,
like a really bad place where I just thought I was 10 foot tall. I went from being that scared little boy that was hanging out with the older fellas to being that scared little boy that's now on drugs and feels like he's 10 foot tall and can fight anyone. So I was kind of, you know, taking that out on anyone that I thought that was intimidating me or trying to attack me while I was on that stuff. I'd turn around and I became a very violent person. So the first incident was walking. I was driving down the street and someone yelled out to the car and said some things, and we just jumped out and started fighting him. I started fighting him, and I ended up hitting him with a weapon, and I knocked him unconscious and took his wallet. Like, and that was my first ever serious offense. And like, and then the next day, coppers tried, like, because we got away. It was out right at the front of, like, near the hospital and that. Like, we took off, and then the next day the coppers see me driving the same car, and they tried jumping in front of the car and pulling a gun out and pointing it at the car. And I would have only been 16 at the time. I got a bit scared. I was driving, so I still had a broken arm, and I put my head down a little bit, went on the other side of the road and took off, and they ended up charging me with recklessly endangering a police officer's life. I got charged for it. I got arrested a couple weeks later. I got charged for it, went to court. But like, I'm someone that throughout my criminal history, every time I've gotten caught for something, or I know that I've done something, I've always gone to court. I've never ever gone to court and pled not guilty to something that I know I've done. I've always gone to court and pled guilty. So I went to court, and you know, is what it is these days. But I had a co-offender at the time who was older than me, and that actually got me into doing all this sort of stuff. And he was a bit more worse than me. I was the younger fella. He would have been probably like 6. He would have been almost 18 at the time. I just turned 16, and big boy, unfortunately, just as soon as we got charged, tried taking everything off himself and saying it was all me, this and that, when really it was the main one. He ended up getting like 18 months while I ended up doing a 3-year sentence. Yeah, true. And yeah, it was just as bad as me, if not did more. But I just ended up going to court, pleading guilty, and telling them, like, you know, I did that, that, blah blah blah, and I ended up getting sentenced with 3 years 8 months. But it was supposed to be after a 22-month after an 18-month non-parole period. But I did 3 years, and they just kept knocking me back from parole for like no good reasons. I'd done everything that I needed to do for reachable to be able to get parole, but parole board just kept knocking it back for no good reasons, like not one legitimate reason. So this is when everything started coming out. This is when I was in custody and everything started coming out about all the Don Dale stuff and that. And I was already 3 years into my sentence, but my lawyers went back to the Supreme Court in the Northern Territory and said to the magistrate, like, he's not getting parole. You gave him a parole period so that he could get parole. They're being biased, but and like pretty much told him that, gave him the reason parole doesn't like him because it was they're not giving him parole. So the judge turned around on the day, like, I was trying to go to rehab at that time in Bushmore. So the judge turned around on the day and said, look, I won't change it today. I won't re-change your sentence straight away. But what I will do is this is after serving 3 years already on a sentence. He said, look, I'll bail you today. I'll take your sentence away. I'll put you on bail, your 4 months, go and do your rehab. I'll pay you to go rehab, and I ended up doing that 4 months rehab. When I went back to court, he changed my sentence from being a 3-year, 8-month prison sentence, a non-parole period, to a 3-year, 8-month sentence suspended after 3 years. So just let me out pretty much after doing that thing with some conditions, and then I finished that. I was actually doing pretty good for myself once I got out of jail. I was staying clean. I wasn't smoking weed. I wasn't smoking cigarettes. I wasn't really drinking.
This was after the Four Corners stuff?
Yeah, this was pretty much straight after that. When I got out, I was doing good for a bit, and then just had a bit of some trauma, like the trauma and stuff like that. When I came out of jail, I felt like I had, because everyone was doing all these things and that, I had all these groups, from groups, you got different certain individuals in the sort of activism scene, and in that, you got like all these different places, peoples, whatnot. They all expected me and thought that I had to do this, I had to do that, I had to say this, I had
all
to
this
jump
pressure on you.
Yeah, too much pressure.
100%.
And like for me as a young kid coming out and knowing how many people would support me and like was sending me messages and stuff like that, I had this the
whole world was
watching. I
watching.
wouldn't say it's a guilty conscience, but I had this conscience like I had to do all these different things. It's like I had this weight on my shoulders saying all these people were marching for you to get out of jail. They were all helping you get out. And now like I just had all these people watching me too much and like saying they want to pay for me to go here, pay for my flights to go here, to talk there, go here to talk there. But like what I wasn't really like understanding, but what I do now is when I can sit back of it is a majority, the whole activism scene is, if I have to be honest, it's not what everyone makes out that it is and makes everyone think it is. Like it's not a whole bunch of people that all want the same thing, fighting for equality and fighting for rights. It's a whole bunch of people that want different things, and the majority of them aren't really there to make change for people. They're there how they're trying to get themselves noticed and trying to get
build a profile,
money, like making themselves a profile about it, like. And that's what I kind of stepped away from it for a lot. Like I got myself into too many shit situations, being that lappy for people that say, oh, come here and do this for me. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't regret protesting. I don't regret using my voice and the media attention that I had on important issues, and I still will do the same today. But
that's why you're here, isn't it?
Yeah, but I need to do it on my terms, on how I want to talk and how I feel comfortable. Because there's been too many situations now that I've gone and like I felt uncomfortable, like I'm pressured into saying what they want, like I feel pressured into saying what they want, or like what they want to hear, or like the conversations only happen on their terms and on on the things that they want to talk about. So instead of talking about like. And like that's why I stopped for a long bit. The first podcast and sort of public thing I've done for quite a while was actually Spaniard's one last year. Other than that, I stopped doing stuff for a lot until I could kind of sit back with my own eyes and realize around the scenes and stuff like that who's really about community, who's really about that sort of stuff. Because like
100%.
Even with like we've had these sort of conversations when it comes to doing things like this that I know. I got respect that as a man, you're doing things for, like, you're doing this to help and do things for other people and stuff like that. You're not doing it coming here to doing it to try and just get paid and put out popular and just get listeners and get things. Like if it was 100%. That, you'd be able to sell the story, or you'd be able to get people that's on it that has people to be able to jump on and say, I just want to listen to it because it's that person.
Yeah.
But it's about trying to do it the right ways and the right way about it. Like. And I just, when I got out of jail, I just realized, like, I thought that, just because everyone was rocking up a protest, just because everyone was talking about Black Deaths in custody, everyone was talking about this, I thought that they all cared, they all wanted to change. But yeah, just realistically, like, I sat back and I watched a whole lot of people rip a whole lot of people off. I got ripped off a whole lot of people. I mean, I put it this way, I sued the media at the start of last year for $925,000. My lawyers took $825,000. I got $100,000. I mean, I thought they were the same lawyers that were supposed to be helping me and had my back since the Royal Commission days that jumped in and got me bail. But I'd say straight out, O'Brien solicitors ripped me off hard.
Yeah,
and they know it for a fact. So I went.
Same thing with the Royal Commission, right? You only got 60,000.
Yeah, they represented me at the Royal Commission and my time in custody and stuff like that. Like, as a young kid, I never went past the start of year 6. You know what I mean? I don't have an education. I don't understand everything. I understand what they were telling me is how blah blah blah, how much I'm getting, this and that. But what they don't explain to you is when we're like, they don't tell you. So for example, I'll use the media one for example. They said we're gonna settle, like when we're settling, we'll settle this much, blah blah blah, so they don't tell you that they're gonna settle for this much, and then that's so like when I said I'll settle for this much, I thought that's how much we're settling. You're gonna get a percentage.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get some, but nah. They said, look, we'll settle for 100. They said what they told me is we're gonna settle for 100,000 for you. I said, yeah, I'll settle with 100, and I thought maybe they'll get 20 of that and I'll get 80 of that.
Yeah.
But nah, they told me I was settling for 100, and then I was getting. So they just told me I was settling for 100, and I was getting 100, and then that's thinking. But what they didn't tell me is what they really settled for was $925,000. And then after that, they said, okay, that's how much we're taking, and then that's how much you'll get. And if I knew that, I would have said, nah, don't settle for any more than $3 million.
100%.
You can take your $825,000, and then I get 2 point something. But at the end of the day, they're not those 5 lawyers aren't the ones that had to sit there for 3.5 years while this case got dragged out in the high courts, in Supreme Courts, in every media channel. They're not the ones that had to get abused every time a fucking article pops up about, you know, Facebook users being held accountable, and then I'd have some old redneck message me, oh, you're gonna kill it for freedom of speech and this and that. Like, it's just,
totally.
I'm the one that had to cop all that. I'm the one that had to go through that. And like, just for little things, like they said that for in the reason why I had to pay him so much money, apparently I had to pay him like $18,000 for 5 lawyers to sit around for an hour looking through Facebook posts so that they could get the evidence. Like, I'm the one that screenshotted all these messages and brought them to my lawyers. There is the evidence. Why do you need to go through looking at the post? I screenshotted them. I brought them to you, and they're like, they're just all rip-offs. But it's not even about money. I took the $100,000. I spent it in 4 weeks. I bought a nice car. I was walking down the street of Sydney with cash in my pockets, giving it all out to homeless people, and just here 50s, just giving it to homeless people. When made nice memories, went to the nice basketball games, bought nice clothes. Money was gone.
Yeah, totally.
I don't give back to people. I'm not someone that I don't like having heaps of money and holding on to it. I could be poor. I'm the same person. I come from, you know what I mean. I come from Alice Springs, where even the clothes that I got on right now, these are lavish clothes compared to what I grew up wearing. Totally. I never grew up wearing even just Nike. It was the Kmart clothes. It
100%.
was a pair of board shorts with remember the old slip-on volleys, like you just slip on and tie them up.
Yeah.
That was our fashion back in the day. We thought we were mad when we'd get the, you know, every now and then a nice pair of denim jeans or a pair of Nike trackies from the sports shop, a sports power. Like that was it back then. So now, like, when I can go to the shop or JD Sports or Culture Kings and take pride in myself, or buy myself a nice new hat, or buy myself a pair of shoes or something like that. It makes me feel good. You know what I mean?
I know you're not about money, bruh, because for anyone listening to this, I offered to pay you to come in and sit with me and share your story, and you flat out said no. And your response when you asked me, is that my money I'm paying you? And I said, yeah. And you said, I won't take it. I won't take money from a mob, because doing this, sitting down and sharing this space is a way for you to give back to community.
100.
So I want to honor that by you touching on that you're being real, because I know I tried to, and you said no way. So I know you're not about the money and all that there.
100. That's just something that I can't take as a person. Like, don't get me wrong, there is times that if I think it's the right, like if it's a place, don't get me wrong, if it's a university and they want me to come and act for my time, if it's a white university and they just want to put it on for their for their law students and all this, they've got the money, they've got that sort of stuff, then you're gonna have to pay me for my time. But when I can see black fellas and stuff like that, or even just people in community trying to do stuff for community and going out of their way, like, and they're not making money with them. If they're not making money while they're trying to do it with them, why should I be sitting there trying to make money off them if they're not making money? Like, don't get me wrong, if someone's sitting there making money and it's a big podcast, and they want me to come in and they're getting, everyone else is sitting there getting paid good money,
absolutely,
then you'd pay me for my time. But when I can see people doing right things and stuff like that, the moral should be coming before money. And that's one of the biggest things of what I've learned in the activism scene in itself and the community scenes of everyone, is everyone's about money. They don't want to do nothing unless they're getting paid for it. Like, for example, on that again, I had some mob from Moree there. They just started up a youth mentoring service. They reached out to me and stuff like that and asked how much they noticed that I was in Sydney, how much it would be for me to go out to Moree and that and talk to some of the young fellas and stuff like that. And I just messaged them back. I said, look, at the moment I'm kind of going through some court battles and stuff like that. Like I'm probably not the perfect person to be able to come out to a youth service and sit down with the youth and have the best yarn and stuff like that politically correctly, just because I'm going through my own court stuff and stuff like that. But I said, like, if he wanted me to come out off record and just have a yarn to the nephews and brothers and like share my story, I said it's not something that I'd charge as being blackfellas. I said, like, as long as you can help me get there, get some a bed to sleep in while I'm there, and someone take me out and show me around on country or something. I said that's something I'd be able to come out and just do for the fun of it. If anything, I'd be honoured to be able to go out to someone else's community and have a look around and be showing stuff like that. Like it's just like the support is mad. Like the support, I do get some mad support, some mad people reaching out, especially now. Like I've realised that all the ones that were quick to jump on me and act like they wanted to support me, and that the ones that all just rushed and jumped on it, it wasn't really the real ones. Where all the real ones is like that I can trust in community and stuff like that. I've kind of kept the distance from the start, like supported me, followed me, send a message every now and then. Hope you're going well, Neff, or hope you're going well, mate. This and that, but they're still there. They're them ones there will be still in my support network, whether in that group they'll send those messages every now. But them ones that jumped on it straight away. Oh, come over here, come do this, come do that, blah blah blah.
Totally.
We got this media. You'll get paid $200 if you come speak here. This and that. And the media's gonna be there. This and that. Now that the media's not there,
they're all gone.
They know it. They know where to be seen. I mean, or they don't get what they want, so they gone. But I don't know. That's one of the most important things. I don't know, I've started to find myself is just because people say they want to help and stuff like that, a lot of them aren't. So I guess trusting yourself and who you're trusting and not just opening up so easy. And I guess you've vulnerability. Like a lot of people, like I'm not the only one that talks on this same situation of feeling like as a victim being used and abused. Me and Auntie Patrina James talks about this all the time. Shout out to Auntie Patrina James. She's brother Elijah Dowdy's, rest in peace, his mum. And like I've kept in close contact with that family for a long time over the years, and I respect Auntie Patrina as an auntie and that. And like we talk about it all the time, just about how much young Elijah, rest in peace too, like everyone wanted to jump up and down, make scenes and being that family. But as a mother of Elijah, she doesn't feel like she gained enough support. Or now that young boy's face isn't on the media as much, no one wants to help as much, or it's like everyone's slowly forgetting about that now that another young kid's been killed. It's like everyone forgets about the one
100%.
before, and then it's only irrelevant about that. And I think that as soon as someone passes away now, and we have everyone jumps to GoFundMe's, everyone jumps to trying to get money, and I see too many GoFundMe's going around in especially in our community space of the GoFundMe's, because like, it's all for different things, and some of them aren't really necessary. Like for example, I'm not name names on individuals who do the GoFundMe's, but just for like example, I've seen some where they've gotten their money up to millions, to millions, when they're saying that they want to get food or this and that out to communities. You've got millions of dollars. With that millions of dollars, you could have started up your own business that could continue taking food out to communities for the rest of the year without having to keep on setting up GoFundMe's every year. Like $1 million could set you up with a business to take food out to every single community in Australia.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like for the rest of the year, once a month, you could take food out to pretty much every single community. I mean, you don't need to keep on redoing $1 million a year just to send food out once a year. Or like pick, like most, you'll see what happens. You'll see what happens with the majority of those GoFundMe's. When they say it's for community, that it's going to go to the community. The majority of them just get handpicked. It goes to whoever's organising its families. They get the big bits here, there, and then whoever's left over the last bits. No, I won't say every single person that does the GoFundMe's, but I've seen heaps of them myself that I know that people are picking who it goes to, where it goes to, how it gets dished out, how it gets handed out.
100%.
I mean, for example, I lost everything in the floods at the start of last year. I got no help off no one, and I got my compensation a couple weeks after I lost everything. And that I've lost a boat. I was living up in Cabo, for example, with my baby mama at the time, and was living up there. I had a nice motorbike, I had a nice car because I started getting a bit of an advance before I got my compo. I bought a motorbike, I bought a boat, and I was living in Cabo, and the floods started happening. I had my boat chained up downstairs. I had a car in the driveway. I had my motorbike at a mate's house. We came down to Sydney just the day before the floods happened, and my boat and my house got flooded out and shit like that. And I had
Lost everything.
I had my boat downstairs, and I had people ringing me from the community saying, "Oh, can we use your boat? This and that." Like I had it boated up. I didn't really know much people from them, but like me being me, I was like, "Yeah, it's bolted up downstairs. You're gonna have to go and unbolt cut it, and you can use it. Just hold on to it until I come back." I've lost everything now. Like all the people that I let use the boats and motorbikes all kept it and sold it on me and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but
really.
Like, with that, I let them use my boat. A lot of people use my boat to go and get stuff out of their houses and say stuff like that. And I never even got no offer of support or help or anything like that off any Aboriginal services or anything that I went to for help in that. I was contacting a lot of them services up there, trying to ask for help, even for just accommodation. Like I couldn't even get accommodation for myself. I had to that's why my money went so quick as well, like $100,000 in literally 4 to 5 weeks. I literally had, after losing everything, had to pay for accommodation and hotels and stuff like that every night as a daily basis. Couldn't get no support off anyone at all. We heard heaps of stories about all these camper vans being handed out to people.
Never seen one.
No, and at this time, like, it wasn't just me by myself. I was in a relationship at time with my baby mum, my son's mum, and she was pregnant at the time. She was pregnant at the time, and she has 4 kids between the ages of 7 and 11. So I was having to provide with my compensation money, pretty much accommodation, food, everything like that, without being able to get any help.
Yeah, wow.
Which was pretty hectic. The only help I was getting was, like I said, off a few of those close people that have stuck by me over the few years, and close brothers and like really close people that I respect. It's like family that knew that I was struggling a bit, and they'd help me where they can, or when they can, or how they can, wherever they can, whether it would be a spare place to crash, or for example, Mahalia Barnes, Jimmy Barnes's family and Jimmy Barnes's daughter, and that they paid for a week's accommodation and stuff like that.
Yeah, true.
Just little things.
They're solid.
Just little things like that. Like it was fucking hard, but just they were saying that everyone's getting help. Same time, we would be looking back at everyone else in the floods, and we'd be seeing heaps of people getting help, getting these payments of settling, getting these payments from people and stuff like that, and just we were getting nothing.
Yeah, true.
Like, I don't even care about the payments, but they could have at least put us up in a bit of accommodation, or kind of showed me how to do insurance and stuff like that. Being a young black fella with no education, and someone that's been through a jail all life. When I bought my car, my motorbike and boat, I didn't know anything about insurance. I didn't know how to fill out for insurance, so that if something like this happened, I'd be able to get my stuff back.
Totally.
We're not taught about things like that. That's only things that corporate rich people are expected to know about. So like, when you get people like myself that go through whatever they go through, or work hard to get things, we don't even know. If we lose it, we lose it. We don't.
Yeah.
But then you got people complaining about, like in Alice Springs and that, about young kids going and breaking a shop window and stuff like that, and sucking about it. And
hard.
I gave up, man. I'm just someone that altogether, if I have to look at it, my car, my boat, my motorbike, probably be about 30 grand.
Yeah.
It's gone. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to sit here and go on and on and on and on and on, nothing, and get that money back with a motorbike? All I got to look at it this way: it's gone. That could have been worse. The floods could have been dead. Like,
sounds like a lot of services and that have let you down, bro.
Yeah, 100.
Has there ever been any solid ones?
Yeah,
in your journey?
Yeah, definitely. So I wish that they had more services like Weave, definitely, and I wish that I came in contact with Weave a lot earlier in my life, to be honest. So especially when I first started coming to this Weave.
Yeah,
so I've had some really, really positive encounters with Weave, and my whole time with Weave. So I've been engaged with Weave, I'd say now, for about a year and a bit.
Yeah, okay.
And I've been going down there. My first casework I started off down there with Sam. And like I just noticed really differently the way the workers in that we've engaged with people and just stuff like that. It's like, you know, and you can just tell when people rock up at their job because they're just there to get paid, and you can tell when people rock up at their job because they know that they got a passion of helping people or helping young people and stuff like that. And you can just tell that every single person in there is actually coming to work or going to work with the actual intention of, yeah, I'm going to work today to do my job of helping people and helping these kids get to wherever they need, or these young people get to wherever they need, and like they're always helping, or whether it's
Definitely.
whether it's a big thing or whether it's a little thing. Like they've helped me a lot lately, especially over the last year with my mental health stuff, with my court stuff. Like I got really bad mental health problems and I hate going to court. Like my anxiety is bad. Like I skits out in court. Like when I go to court, like I get really bad anxiety. It's telling me that when I go to
You
court,
get triggered.
like I get scared. Like I don't even want to rock up at court. I don't like turning up at court because I get scared that as soon as I'm gonna walk through those court doors, or these court security, and they're gonna just jump on me and drag me out the back, and they're gonna lock me up. Like that's just my first thought. So I go off in court a lot. I swear in court. Like they still stick by me and come to court. They'll make sure, like if I need to go to an appointment, make sure I need to get on my medications. Even their casework, even their AOD worker, their Andrea, makes me feel comfortable that I've been going and participating in AOD and stuff like that, and it's been really good.
It's one of the things that's, because you talked about a couple of things there, and even before we started the potty, when we were having a yarn, is what makes part of not just having good people there, but is part of what makes it a good experience as a service user, as a young person, that like you're getting support for lots of different stuff. You're not just going in and they're just saying, oh, we're only here to talk to you about your housing. Yeah,
definitely. I think that's one of the most important parts about Weave, is it's not just a place where you can go for one thing. It's not just a place where you can go, oh yeah, I need help with my forms. It's a place where you can go that if you're just walking past the area and you need a drink or a feed, or you just need to use a computer, you can just pop in and just sit there and just have a yarn and have a feed and have a cold drink and sit on the computers for a bit and then be on your way, or make a phone call to a place where if you was walking past and for example, go touch back on the drugs situation. I know that we was that good that it's a place that if some young person happened to make that mistake of relapsing and getting on drugs or something, and they were off their heads and they walked past there, if they were there and they stopped and they said to one of the workers, they said, look, I've had drugs, something, can you help me go to the hospital? They'd do it in the most safest and way possible to taking you to the hospital to getting help or something like that. Even in a situation like that where someone could be off their head, like I know that those workers there would do that. They do it in the safest, in a way where they have to do it, but like take you to the hospital and get you the help that you need without, you know, if someone else seeing you, most services, they'd be like, call the police, call an ambulance, drug affected, like getting taken down, the worst situation possible, where they'd be like, come on, let's go to the hospital, take you to the hospital sort of thing.
What about because I know that they're not an Aboriginal organisation, are they?
No.
Like they're a lot of young fellas in that. Like my experience is they feel quite culturally safe there.
So as a young Indigenous person, like obviously I'm not from here in the East Coast, but I definitely feel like it's a really multicultural, diverse place. Like it's somewhere that you can, whether you're, you know, an islander, whether you're an Aboriginal person, whether you're a white fellow, whether you're a Muslim fellow, I think it's somewhere that you can go and you still feel comfortable or safe enough with your, whatever your religious is, whether you think it's like it's a safe place that's open for anyone and everyone. Like it's not just a particular, like there's a lot of, but it is insane that it is really good. Like they do have really good programs and really good services there, and the way it's set up for Indigenous people as well. Like there's a lot of good Indigenous workers there, and that they do programs, and that like Marky Thorne and that he takes, and
he's solid,
and that they take the boys out every Wednesday, I think it is, and go out to like Lapa, go out and have feeds, barbecue, stuff like that. You know, so that's like a really good thing for the young fellas, and that's something really important.
You ever done the sunrise ceremony stuff they talk about?
Yeah, not yet. I was gonna, but that's that sort of stuff that they do. But I wanted to go out and I got to start organising and linking up with them boys. That's something like I love going out and doing that shit, catching up with like especially strong. And everyone knows the fellas that work at Weave, like all Marky and that. Everyone knows them around the community, and Bo and that. Everyone knows them around the community here. And like I'm not from here, but even I've heard of them in the community, and like the stuff that they do in the community, and the strong Indigenous men that they are around in the community, even when they're not just working at Weave, like to back that up at Weave, work at Weave, and then still have the word in the community, like the things that they're doing for the young fellas will be making a mad impact. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Not only for Indigenous community, but what young non-Indigenous kids 100%. And Islander kids and stuff like that wanted to go and do that program with them and learning.
100%, bro. So like throughout your whole journey, like as a young fella coming up, was there ever a service that sort of looked at you as a whole person, or?
I'd say that. And the other one I'd really say is two, as a Bushmob Aboriginal rehab service that I went to in Alice Springs, that they gave me a good crack and gave me a fair chance. And I'd say I owe a lot of everything that came out and my story being told like this, I owe a lot of it to a lady named Antoinette Carroll, who was the youth advocacy worker at the Alice Springs Legal Aid Service. But I'll tell you, that woman went beyond her duties to make sure us young kids were all right. It's like at times it's like she didn't even work for Aboriginal Legal Services. It's like she worked for herself. Like she was someone that if I was getting bashed in the juvie centre from the workers, I could call her up at 8 o'clock at night if I can get onto the phone and be like, help me please, like they're doing this, it should ring up and make sure she happens. Or if I rang her and said they bashed me again today, or yes, they should be out the next day finding out what happened, making sure I'm okay, looking to see if I got any injuries, or if I need medical treatment, should be making sure I get medical treatment. Or if I'm on the outside and it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon, like when I was in welfare, for example, I was on bail at welfare and I was having an incident with one of the workers there, and he was trying to chase me around, bash me, and I was going off and skitzing out, smashed the window there, and he was trying to call the police on me. So I rang, I said, can you come? And basically came there at 6:30 at night. To the house to make sure I was alright and to help me talk to the police and explain to the police that he was assaulting me, and that's why I smashed the window, stuff like that's like out and just beyond it, making sure that they can try and resolve situations that don't need to be played out the way they play out sometimes, I guess. Totally.
How hard is it now, coming off the back of everything that you had to go through and the Royal Commission, with where you're at now, knowing that, you know, one of the things I took away when I listened to that podcast yarn that you did with Spanian, and I know like many Royal Commissions, all these recommendations come out, and you know, many of them don't get implemented and stuff like that. And you know, some of those recommendations were about, you know, Don Dale and all that sort of stuff, and to see the place still operating, see workers still there, you know, like how does that, you know, impact you given the history of it all?
Yeah, to be honest, it impacts me hard, Dave. Like I tell a lot of people all the time, like some people, they look at me and they think that, you know, they think I've recovered, they think I'm healed after that place. I'll tell you, it's a thing that I have to put on. Like I don't like people seeing that sort of broken side of me, because I feel like it brings other people around me. I'd rather them see that sort of fighter spirit, the strong weather. Like I know I have one. I know it's a fight that I probably will never win against the system of trying to get that sort of mental space back in my head, or trying to be a normal person again. It's probably something I've kind of counted off my blessings. I'm never going to be a normal person again after going into that place, and the stuff that I've been through, and I guess the effects that it's given me, like left me with, like the mental health sort of things and the trauma, the effects that I've had from it. That like just changed me as a person. It's changed my mindset. It's changed my ways of thinking. It's changed everything. Like I can try my hardest to be a better person. I can try, like my hardest not to be wanting to get back into trouble and stuff like that. But the thought of having to sit there every day knowing that I could go, like I got charged for a joint not long ago. In court, and I got sentenced. I got a good behaviour bond. I just had a problem, like an incident at the moment with my ex-partner, where we had a incident where we was arguing with each other, and I jumped out the car and I kicked my car, and they tried saying that I kicked her in the leg, and I pled not guilty. I went to court, and they said what they said on the day that I kicked her, and that's what I was being charged with, and this and that. Camera surveillance evidence, everything shows that when I got out the car, I admit that I'm in the wrong. I shouldn't have been going off, and I shouldn't have been. I jumped out, I kicked my car, I grabbed her bag off her because she was trying to take her. I said, come on, just jump back in the car, let's just go home. And she came back around to my door and ducked in, trying to grab her car out. You know, when you're arguing, black woman and black relationships, it's crazy. The woman's just as crazy as the man. And we're just sitting there having an argument. She wanted to get it, and she just wanted to walk away and take off with her, and the kids just wanted to take off instead of driving home. And I was like, just sitting there tripping out. So she reached in the car to grab her bag back, and then they tried saying that I grabbed her and pulled her toward, like I was sitting in the passenger. They said I grabbed her and pulled her in the car. So they changed the assault on the day from apparently allegedly kicking her to grabbing her shirt and reefing her in the car. But it didn't make sense. Like, if I reefed her in the car and she's standing up at the car door would have been like that. If I reefed her, her head would have hit the car door. She bent in to grab her bag back, but then because they knew that they didn't get the assault charge of apparently kicking her, they changed it on the day and charged me with assault for something else.
Yeah, wow.
That's like saying, I'm going to charge you today and you got to come to court for stealing lollies, for stealing a packet of chewies from the shop, but while you were in there, you dropped a piece of paper on the floor. So instead of, you didn't actually take those chewies, but we're going to charge you for the littering that you left in the shop. You can't go and charge someone for something and you get proven not guilty and then change it on the day to what you can make work.
Totally.
That just shows that it's specifically set up. And the judge in the day was making racist remarks in court, mind you.
True.
And saying stuff towards my partner at the time about how old she was and how many kids she's got and stuff like like making just bad remarks. Like, it's all going to be on record. At the end of the day, the judge is a shit cunt.
Yeah. Well, you said something earlier about how policies and systems are set up to still be racist and discriminate against our people. And, perfect examples of that sort of stuff is that, the day after that Dondale stuff was aired, they call the Royal Commission, and then a Royal Commission happens with all these recommendations, but nothing changes.
Yeah, well, that's a $70-something million Royal Commission. You could have gave me that $70-something million at the start, and I tell you right now, the youth crime in Alice Springs wouldn't be as bad as the $70 million. I would have changed the whole Northern Territory.
Yeah.
How could it change that? Literally, that whole Northern Territory would have been changed with $70 million. That's a lot of money.
What do you reckon's the big thing about what's happening down there with the young lads now?
I think the biggest problem, if I have to be honest, in Alice Springs, is that non-Indigenous people don't respect that Alice Springs is not like Sydney. It's not like Melbourne. It's not like Adelaide. Whitefellas can't just come there and try and treat it like it's a city and think that it's going to be ran the same as a city. It's not. It's the bushest community where blackfellas, we don't live the same way as they do here in the city. And that's no disrespect to the blackfellas on the East Coast and in the cities here. Like, I know that it's not, it's not the blackfellas' fault here that the way that the East Coast and that works and the way that the way that people live here. And I'm not saying it's all the same in here, but it's the fault that it's a city. Like, it's where the culture and everything was taken out first. It's where everything was killed. Like, I wouldn't say killed. I don't believe the culture here is killed. It's not killed, but some of it's been taken and like lost along the way because it's, this is where the boats and that all coming from. This is where it all happened.
First contact
the
here,
impact
bro.
happened
Biggest
here first.
impact.
So it's where more people was taken out. More people were killed here first. Where back home in the Northern Territory and that, luckily enough, they didn't, as much of them didn't get over there, where all the communities and stuff like that, like they didn't get to take it out and wipe it and turn it into a big Darling Harbour or big malls and stuff like that. So we're lucky that all the cultures out there are still really, really strong. And for me, my personal opinion is, I think that's a big problem. I think that whitefellas come there thinking that they're going to turn that into a big shopping precinct, a big holiday destination, and they want to try and get rid of the blackfellas that are still there, that are still proud, singing, doing culture and walking around, still proud and walking around. They don't like the fact they don't like blackfellas. Still walking around barefoot and that, walking around or sitting down having a campfire.
Totally.
In the creek and stuff like that. For them, that's uncivilized. That's uncivilized, and that's not good. They don't want that. But what they don't realize is that people have been sitting around in that creek for hundreds of years, sitting around there having their fires and having yarn. The only thing that's made it a little bit different now is that whitefellas brought alcohol in, and now when they sit around and have their yarns and sit around near the campfire now, every time now unfortunately it's sad, and like alcohol plays a big part in that now. And that's a sad thing about everywhere too these days is the culture. Like I'm not gonna lie, I was a bad alcoholic and I used to drink heaps, and that's what's led me into trouble this time. Like, I get sentenced on the 13th of March for stealing alcohol over 3 years ago when I was a really bad alcoholic. I went into a bottle shop and stole some alcohol and ran out, and I pled pled guilty to some lower charges in the district court, and then that's something that I got a cop on the chin now. Like, drinking is a big thing and it's hard to break, and unfortunately for us blackfellas, it's a big problem for a majority of us. I won't say all of us, because I don't want to
Yeah, hard.
But for our people, it's a big thing. It's a big, and once you get on it, it's hard to get off of it. Like just to stop drinking. Like I'm lucky enough now that I hardly ever drink anymore. Like I do. I'm not gonna say I don't drink at all. I'll have a drink, but I don't drink how I used to. I don't drink every Friday and Saturday night. Just wanted to go out and have fun. Like I'll drink now and but when I do drink, I'll drink to get drunk. But I'll only drink now if I'm going out to a big festival or if I'm going to like those big things throughout the year. So I'll probably end up getting drunk now, maybe like a couple times throughout the year.
Totally.
Where back in the day it used to be like every Friday, Saturday thing. I have to get drunk. Like I have to drink. Sometimes I just drink Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or I'd have to have a couple a day, or where it'd be the one thing that numb it, and then it turned from alcohol to I'd have to now. Like I'm not gonna lie, now I'm a heavy cannabis smoker. I smoke marijuana and I feel like it helps me with my anxiety. It helps me with a lot of mental health problems and stuff like that. And I hardly drink at all. Like I'd rather sit at home and be a little bit lazy, a little bit stoned, but know that my thoughts run wild all day, every day. As soon as I have, whether it may be a joint or a bong, my mind just slows right down and I can actually think, oh, that's right, and try and make conscious decisions. Where if I don't have some, or even CBD oil, just depends what it is. Like I have like some of this is just the THC. That's the part about it. Can't just be any sort of just marijuana. Like it can't just be just that shit stuff just that you're going to like I have to smoke proper strain, like proper stuff, what I know. So I just tried getting on medical marijuana not long ago, but I have to get another doctor to prescribe it because I've been diagnosed with schizophrenia and stuff like that. They won't diagnose me properly with the proper strain medical marijuana. So at the moment, I got to get it off
true.
A little plug that doesn't do the actual medical stuff, but the strain stuff that actually knows what the healthy stuff that knows what they're doing. So he gives me every now and then some of that there, where I'll just have a couple cones a night, and like it actually does help. It really does. That's why I kind of want to see more stuff like that even brought in. But it'd be mad even seeing that sort of stuff. I know it's a big thing to say, and a lot of people will say I'm stupid for probably saying it, but like I think I'd love to see the prison systems and that have a look into the cannabis, like medical cannabis and medical marijuana, and open up and explore the options in jails to getting that onto prisoners and bringing, like, they've taken away the smoking in prisons, the cigarettes and stuff like that. I think that, to be honest, if you own, like, not everyone just gets weak, but if you can get on there, like talking to doctors, and then if you can get on there, I think that if they could bring CBD oils or even a joint or whatever, a little bit of yarn and to prisoners in there, I think that even that could make a big difference. I think that if they had a healthy way of being able to buy medical marijuana where they could get wrecked like that, I think that in the jail system, like people with mental health problems and stuff like that, I think it would stop the in-house politics in jails. I think it would stop the people that go straight in there because they can't get anything. They want to jump straight to having a shot of whatever they can get. I think it would stop a lot of the, HIV, stuff like that, getting around jail, shared needles. I think that I honestly think that if they brought like cannabis, medical cannabis in there and did it properly, like through how they do it out here, but in there and like, dished it out properly and just, I honestly didn't think that inside the jail they'd stop heavier drugs in there. I think they'd be able to do more programs in there.
100%.
Like just stuff like that. No, I could see making big differences, but it's things like that they'd be like, nah, fuck that. We're not gonna do that. Like doing that. That's what the kind of thing want. But what they got to realize is the way that they want to do things, it's not gonna work.
Totally.
Like you can't have prison inspectors and prison officers and people that think they know about prisons trying to tell you how it's gonna work. Like the only people that can tell you how it's gonna work and what's gonna make a difference for people is people that have been through that situation.
100%.
Like obviously things aren't working. I've been going through the system since I was 11 years old. I've been through adult systems and juvenile systems, and like there's been nothing there that's made me like not want to really care about not wanting to go back. Like, don't get me wrong, I hate jail. I don't want to be in jail, but am I scared of jail? Is it terrifying? Like it's it's really not. Like, yeah, it's scary what I went through with the guards as a kid, but now that I've been through it all, I really don't care no more. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm scared of. I tell you, that's my biggest fear, is becoming that statistic in jail. Like, I know for a fact that when I go to jail, I'm still targeted today. Like, if not, I'm targeted any worse.
Yeah, true.
Like, I got out of silver water just a couple months back when I was in there only for a week.
Yep.
And I tell you, the guards in there are putrid. I had them getting people to slide razors under my door. I only had 1 meal within a whole week. I lost 15 kilos in 6 days.
MRRC.
Yeah, they're putrid, man.
Really?
Like, bad.
Wow.
Real bad. So it's just
that's heavy, lad.
Man.
That's heavy.
I get targeted still in every jail I go to, like Perth, going in Casuarina for a bit, and got bashed in there from the officers. Oh, you think you're Dylan Voller? No one's gonna help you here. Don't die. Or this, you get all that remarks. Like,
True.
I kind of laugh at them now because they know. They know for a fact that they can say whatever they want, because they know that they want me to go off so that I can assault them, so that they can charge me and keep me in there.
Yeah.
But now I just play their words. I just
Smarter
play
now.
back with them. Like, I've had people say everything you could possibly think of to me now. Like, yeah, I used to react to it, but now they don't realize is I'm mentally smarter than them. So when they come past myself being a smart cunt or saying things to me, I just look at them with a smile and I'll say stuff back to them, and I just get back with their head, and I don't let them win. I'll sit there and be a smart cunt because I know they get angry.
Totally.
And I don't care what are you gonna do, come in and bash myself. It's all on camera now. They know too many people's watching, so if they do it,
yeah, hard.
now I don't really care about getting or hiding. Like, it's a bit of a touch up, and then they're gonna regret it at the end of the day. I'll just make another complaint that's gonna be back out there, and keep moving forward. You know what I mean?
You said something earlier about our you know, the stuff that you'd gone through. We're always going to be with you.
Yeah.
And you don't know if you ever will be, the same again. And you know, like your own healing journey, like healing is like no one is ever healed, right? If they've been through trauma, no matter what trauma it is, there's no like, oh, I've done 10 sessions now, I'm healed, or I've done this. Like, it's if I've been through childhood trauma. I know other people that have been through trauma as well that have survived that sort of stuff, and that healing journey is ongoing. And some days we have good days, good weeks. 100. Some days we don't have good days, good weeks. And I think it's that knowing and understanding that it's a commitment to that healing journey, and knowing that it's there is no destination. It's a commitment to moving in that right direction. But what does healing mean for you, or what does it look like for you now? It sounds like you've got you got at least some good people around you with different stuff like that, but what does that look like or feel like?
100, but like, I fully agree with you. I think that once you've been through a traumatic experience and stuff like that, I don't think that there's any such thing as being fully healed. I think that every single person is on a journey of healing. Some people, I think there's a thing called coping. Like, some people can cope better. Some people have some better strategies than others. Some people, symptoms aren't as bad. Some people are a bit more scarred than some people, and I think some people can cope with it a bit more. Or in some people's situations, like myself, sometimes like we can hide it a bit better than other people. Like, some people are a bit more better at hiding their trauma and not letting people see that sort of side of them, which is what I do a lot. Where I could be, I'm not gonna lie, there's been times where I could be sitting there thinking about full on wanting to kill myself and feel like crying, but I could still walk out in front of people and be like, hey, go on, brother, and act normal. And so I think for me at the moment, like, I never really thought about healing, and that for a long time I come out and just doing all the, like what I just said, hiding the scared little boy that's hurt, and tried hiding him with that brave person that's come out of the system that's a fighter now. And I tried hiding that with going around speaking everywhere and doing everything and not worrying about healing, not worrying about myself and my healing journey, but worrying about everyone else and trying to hide it, going around all these things and speaking everywhere and doing all this. I didn't worry about my own healing journey, and I've been thinking about that over like the last year and a bit, which I've slowly been trying to heal and do things to, like, and that sort of thing. I had all these different people saying, come on, bro, you could do healing journey. Come do this. I'll take you to do that. I'll take you. You need to do this. And that's what I've been thinking about. Like, I tried for a bit doing what all these other people were telling me to do. Go do this appointment. Go do that appointment. But like, that's when I had to sit there and think about it. Like, fuck that. Like, this is my healing journey. I need to do the things what I feel is going to make me 100%. Comfortable and how I'm going to heal. So that's when I started, instead of taking advice of what other people were telling me to do, I just do things that I want to do. Like, I've now turned to music. I find that as a healing process in itself. You know, like, I've got a song dropping on March 10th, and that's called Bad Decisions. And it's all about how I made the decisions of what I did to go to jail. And, you know, like the hook is, bad decisions led me to prison, but now it's my lifetime to do something with it. Like, and that's just all of, I guess that's me talking about how I made the decisions, and I can't take that back. I went to prison. I can make something of my life. I don't need anyone else to tell me that I can or I can't, or what I can be or where I can be. If I want to be, like, if I want to be a musician, I'll be a musician. If I want to be a sports, I'll be sports. If I want to do whatever I want to do, like, I don't have to play for the NRL or play for the AFL to be something in sports, you know what I mean, or to be, or to be happy and healing. Like, for example, I could play, but go and play reserves at the local community football and just go out every Sunday and have a good game with my team and play good on the field. And that's me being the best I can for the sports. Like, that, you don't have to be like, I'm not someone that wants a big reputation from like, for my music. I love making music and I love rapping, and so I'm going to use as an example of what I was just touching on. But I don't want to be a famous rapper. I don't want to have 100,000 followers on Instagram and have people following me around, or I don't want to be told make a gangster song because people want to hear this and that. So this is my healing journey. I'm making music the way I want to make it. I'm telling my stories or things that I relate with. And I'm telling it in a safe way now. Like, that's my healing journey. I like talking about it. Like, I find me talking about my story, I find it helpful. Like, I find it, I get peace of mind out of it. I like knowing that I'm doing something that's helping people, whether, you know, say, for example, with 1,000 people go on to watch the podcast, if one person takes something away from it, well, then my job is, like, I'm doing my job. I'm doing what makes me happy. Like, I don't expect, like, I know for a fact that no matter what podcast it is, there's going to be, out of everyone that watches the podcast, there's going to be one person on here that sits in like, I don't like this cunt. I don't want to listen to what he's got to say. Always. But then there's going to be someone that sits in and goes like, yeah, I agree with him. Then there's going to be people that stay in mix of it. And like, I'm not someone that sits here and goes, no, I want this to think this of me. Like, everyone can have their own opinions, but this is my opinion and how I feel and how I say it. So it is what it is.
Yeah, 100%. I think, bro, some of the most sort of powerful things I reckon you touch on is the ability to own your own healing journey, you know? And I think we had Osher before you come in, and he's dealt with addiction and he's got diagnosed mental health stuff, and he talked about his healing stuff as well. And his biggest thing was like, you know, I had to see it to be it. Like, you know, I had to be able to see someone that had lived my life or had been through something similar that had come out of it to maybe see a path for him to get out of it, you know?
100. And
I think it's about people can tell you, you know, try and do this program or go to this course, whatever. And some of that stuff might be valid, you know, but I think the powerful thing is if you can see people that you can connect with, that are maybe a bit further along that journey.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, like, where you just did that there is actually one of the biggest touching points on. So, like, for me, and like one of my, like, I don't look up to people just because they're famous as role models or stuff like that. How people say, oh, that's my idol, like, just because they're famous. But I'll tell you someone that is famous right now is one of my biggest inspirations and idols, not just because of their music and stuff that they're doing, but Sister Chloe. I'm really close with the Quayle family, Auntie Cleone, Sister Chloe, and
she's coming on here too.
Yeah, Keith and all that. And that's, like, I tell her all the time, like, what she's doing, not only as, like, representing for the black sisters and, like, all the aunties and that, but for black males too, and any black fella that's gone through that system of custody, drug addiction, welfare, stuff like that. She's representing for all of us. Like, make what she's done and made out of her life and doing with herself from where she came from is like a true credit and a true inspiration. That's something that I want to be able to do, you know. And how I can see myself going about myself is like, I don't want to be famous and like as well known as her, but just the fact that she's been able to take ownership of her life and been able to ownership of what she wants and how she wants her life now, and she's been able to do it all stand on her own 2 feet without having to go to people and say, oh, can you help me with this, can you help me with that. She's gone and made it herself, you know, and not let anyone hold her back with this support of her mum and people like that, like they give her the support, but she's gone and done it with all on her own without having to go to people and say, oh, help me get this, or help me become a famous rapper, help me do that. But she's gone and chased her dreams. She's come from nothing, and now she's up there. Like, you couldn't ask for a better sort of role model or inspiration, sort of like that. And that's why I'm lucky to have really important people like that in my life, like Chloe and my other brother Fluent MC, who's another rapper up in WA, and that's why me and him was so close, is I met him through some studio time with Optimus, and I showed him one of my songs and he really liked it, and we ended up doing a song together, and we had a bond now that would never break. We're like brothers, like my closest brother ever, like, and I really respect him and look up to him just because of the way he is and the person he is. Like, when we started hanging out with, he's not like the typical brothers that I hang out with, or like my brothers, or how I grew up, where we were worried about drinking and partying and going out and getting with girls and doing this and doing that. Like, he's really, like, Fluent is one of the most respectful and humble fellas that I ever met. That's a really family orientated person, really always there for his kids and doing whatever he can for not only his kids but just kids in the community, like working, doing music, writing workshops, stuff like that. Really passionate about his culture, stuff like that. And now, like, that's why when I had my son, I looked to him, and I'd only known him for a good 6-7 months, but the bond was already there, like close. I looked to him and I said to him, you know, as a young fella, I said, like, I really respect how you are as a dad and as a man. I asked him to be the godfather to my son. Like, I really respected his morals and stuff that he had as a father and as a man. So me and him became really close, and now, like, looking up to what he's doing, like, he's done, like, been in the music scene in WA for so long, trying to make a name for himself and working hard. Then now he's just going, everything that he's going to done, he's just going to set up this, probably one of the brightest futures for his son, you know. I don't know if you've heard of him, but his son Incubi is 10 years old, and like, you can just tell the way that
energy,
you can just tell the sort of person his father is, to, like, and his energy is rubbing off on his son. Like, at 10 years old, you got a 10-year-old boy rapping like 100%. I would call him out. He's one of the best rappers in Australia right now, and that's just spitting facts, spitting the truth. He's 10, he's better than half these rappers in Australia. But you can, like, the morals of that kid, like, he's 10 years old talking about how he wants to see a better life, a better way for everyone, black, white, and like, he's not jumping up being a little gangster kid, like, look at me, I'm walking down the street. Like, you can just see the way he's teaching the next generation, and that's mad. Like, I'm lucky to have people like Fluent, Barker, you know, people like that in my corner, and people like Weave to them. Like, when I'm struggling to push me back up on that right path, you know what I mean? Like, I'll be honest, like, with my journey, like, I'm not, like, I know that I have to do majority of the hard work myself to put myself in situations, or to try and keep myself out of trouble, or to heal. But I honestly think that if I didn't have support networks like, you know, Chloe and Annie Cleone, or Weave, or, you know, people like my brother Fluent and Kieran and stuff like that, if I didn't have strong brothers that I can really look to like that, I don't think that I'd be still here, if I have to be honest. I've tried giving up a few times now over the last couple of years, and tried committing suicide and stuff like that. But like, yeah, I just believe that there's and even not even that, just even the strength of community, like, and the community that I get messages and stuff like that. A lot of people, I get stopped walking down the street, you're doing Voller, this and that, like, seeing what you went through. When I see some of that, someone stops me like that, like, I get really emotional. It means a lot when people stop me. Like, I know it's shame. Like, I don't like getting, like, I don't like pity. I don't like people saying, "Oh, I'm sorry for what." Like, that's, I hate that way when people say, "I'm sorry for what happened to you when you went through." Like, I hate when people say, "I'm sorry." Like, you don't need, like, it's not your fault. Like, I hate when people say sorry. That's why I said, like, I understand when people want to say, "I seen what you went through," and like that. But I hate it when they say sorry, like, or they try to apologize for what other people have done to me. Like, it's just, it makes me feel bad, if anything.
Hard. Yeah, I think if anything, Bar, to be honest, like, you know, you've touched on, like, some really heavy stuff, you know, and being so open about where you're at, and you know, all that sort of stuff as well. Like, I think I messaged you, you know, like, and said something a while back, but I still mean it, bro. I think anyone that's been through half of what you've had to go through in your life that's still here today is a fucking warrior. 100%. Like, there's no doubt about it. So no matter what stage you're on in your healing journey, to even just be here in your power right now, to be sitting here, to be doing what you're doing, to be impacting and having relationships with people in your life that are amazing people, like, you know, Fluent, Barker, other people connected to you in your life, you know, they're connected to you for a reason, because you're a special person, bar. And you know, I think, like, it's just a privilege to be able to have this space to connect and to talk about this sort of stuff, because you know, that what you had to go through was, you know, was what it was, but it's also not, it doesn't have to be your story forever. You know what I mean? Like, that's going to be, hopefully you're here till you're 100 years old, and this party,
about that
black fellas, they don't go that, but like, you know, what mid-20s now?
Yeah, and I'm already running out of breath walking to the bus stop.
Yeah.
I don't know about living till 100.
But, you know, say
70 maybe.
70, bar, 70, 80. Hopefully.
I'll be happy with 70. I'm not gonna lie. The way I was going when I was 11 years old, I was surprised I made it past 21, to be honest.
Fuck that. Well, that's it.
I mean, that's me being realistic too, but that's not even 100%. Like a joke. Like, if I look at the way I was living when I was 14, 15, 16, 11, I'm surprised I'm still alive. Like,
absolutely.
And that's me being realistic. Like, if I look at, like, and it's no disrespect to David Dungay family, but like how brother David Dungay passed away, like, that was fucked. That was brutally, and it was murder. But like, I've seen people being held down in the same sort of I've been held down in that same sort of situation, like in the same sort of position that David was held down. I remember screaming the exact same things, like when they're pushing your head into the ground and you can't breathe, bro. Like, you can't breathe. Like, you obviously can take deep breaths, but it's not this. Yeah. Anyone that knows what it feels like when you're being suffocated knows that you're getting a little bit of it, like, you can breathe, but you're not breathing. And if you're in a panicking thing and you're just taking those ones, you're still being suffocated without noticing that you're being suffocated. And like, I've felt what it feels like to be yelling out, I can't breathe. It's like, you can yell it out, like, you can say it out, but when you're trying to get it back, like, get your breath back in, you just can't. Like, I know what that feels like. And like, when I look at that and be like, he died like that, like, I've been held down like that multiple times. I've, like, obviously that's a different situation, and he had it worse while he was being held down, like being injected and stuff like that, and the way he was being held. But just like, I'm lucky, like, I'm still here, you know what I mean? Like, I'm one of the I'm the lucky one. Like, I'm still here after what I've been through. So I guess it kind of gave me that purpose where I'm close with, like, Annie Latona and all that, and like, you know what I mean? Like, they would have been way more lucky if they could have been in that situation where they could have had their son come home like how I am. And I guess that's why I really wanted to, when I got out, I really didn't hesitate back or look or say no to going and trying to fight for everything and anyone or do anything, is because I've seen a lot of people and that's with all respect, like like Annie Latona and all that, fighting for my case and fighting for me to get out, or fighting for what I went through, when at the same time sitting there dealing with the trauma of losing her own son to the system. Like, that's, for me, is strength. Like, Annie Latona is one of the most strongest women I'll ever meet. Like, the power that she has fighting for her son, like, it's incredible. And like, just And
what about into the future? You know, you talked about at the start that you didn't grow up with your dad around, but like, you got your dad now.
So I got
what's that story like?
It's like, I'm still not the best dad. Like, obviously having no dad and what I went through, I've still got a lot of learning to do on that. Like, I don't think there is no perfect dad. There's no dad out there that is perfect. But like I'm still a good dad. I don't hurt my kids. I don't do stuff.
Yeah.
I don't see some of, like, I got 3 kids, to different mothers and stuff like that. So it's a bit harder to go and see them all or be in all of them life. Like, I'm not an everyday dad where I'm in their life, but I can't see all of them every single day. I can't be there every single day, and I guess that's the hardest part. Like, I know that they're gonna love me, and like they love me, and I know that when they get older, they'll come. Majority of them come looking for their my son, and that will come looking for me. But I can only do what I can do from the distance at the moment, where those sort of situations didn't work out. And I guess as long as, you know, if they needed something off me, as long as I can provide for them or do what I need to do or make sure they're safe, always check in on them, and stuff like that. That's good. But I guess it's different being a dad, and how much, like, I had to quickly try and change, and it was hard. But I think that I still got a lot to work on as being a father, and that's me just being real and being honest. I still got a lot to work on with my maturity. With like my maturity and like getting a job in my own place and just stuff like that, to be able to make myself a better dad, like being have my own stuff to be able to say, like, and all my court cases and stuff like that all under the wraps, and have that all over with. And even my mental health, to get my mental health under control a bit more, would make me the best dad, so that I'm able to do more positive things with them. Because when I'm sitting around being depressed and stuff like that, well, then it makes me a bit lazier to do stuff.
And I think, bruh, to be honest, talking as someone who grew up with parents that had addiction, had mental health stuff, had trauma, you know, the best thing I could have had as a kid growing up with that is for my parents to be trying to do the work and heal themselves. They never did, you know, and you probably got family members that never did their own healing work as well.
Well, that's one of the, like you just said, that's one big thing for me is, you know, my kids are already, when they get older, they're already going to have to see a lot of stuff that I went through, you know, being a lot of, like the videos and everything, being on the media. That's going to be a hard thing for them to have to grow up and see, and to hear the stories of, you know, how their dad was on drugs, or how their dad used to be a crackhead, or how their dad used to do these things. So I guess that's one of my biggest goals, is to get myself the best I can be, so that when they're at that age where they're going to start learning about some of the stuff, probably what I went through, and hear some of the stories of how your dad was on this, dad did that. They can be like, nah, my dad's come a long way from there. My dad's clean, my dad's sober, and like be happy then, you know. So there's a lot of work to do, but just making sure that when they're at that age, that they don't look up to their dad and be like, oh, my dad's a drinker, let me go and drink. Like, I have a goal of when my kids are at that age of being clean and healthy, so that when they come to me, like, and when they want to start experimenting, or I catch them drinking and stuff, I don't have to be that hypocrite, sit there and say, oh, this and that. I don't want to be that hypocrite dad, be like, don't drink, I'd rather be that one that goes, look, you don't want to drink, like, it led me here. And they're like, I'm not going to, when my kids get old enough and they want to have a drink and they're 16 or whatever, instead of them going out sneaking out with their mates and doing how I did my first drink and taking off my mates and going out and getting drunk on the street. If my son or that comes to me at 16, because I say, Dad, you know, I want to try drinking, I'd say, if you want to try drinking, I'll say, look, there's 2 cans. I say, here's a couple of cans. I said, but once you have a sip out of the can or drink, you know, you're not allowed to leave the house. You're not going out drinking. I said, I'd let my son, I'd rather him sit there with me in a safe environment and try his first drink and sit there, and because I can guarantee you that you give it to him in a responsible way like that, where they know what they're going to do. They're going to be like, nah, drinking's not that fun. They're not going to want to drink. But where you just let them go out and keep on sneaking out and doing fun things like that, they're gonna keep on doing it because it's fun. Where if you sit down and say, go on, sit down and have a drink, they're gonna be like, oh, nah, I may as well just wait until I'm older. 100%. Like, as a kid, you only go out and do those things because you know that you're not supposed to, and it's at the time it's fun. You're getting into a little bit of shit. Your mum and dad don't want you drinking, you're thinking, fuck. But at the time you're thinking that they're just trying to party poop, they're killing your time. But at the time you don't realize that, like, for example, I went and did drinking, driving cars, all the things that you're supposed to look forward to when you become 16 and you get your license, so that you can drive your car for the first time, or your 18th birthday having your first drink. So I've done it all before I was 13. So it's like I didn't have nothing to look forward to.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Pokies was the only thing I didn't do, to be honest. It was before I was 18 was the pokies, and I got out and did the pokies, and I was checking out and thinking, oh, that's
Not missing much there after a bit, eh?
Ah.
Yeah. Hey, we're coming towards the end, but I'd love to hear if you just got like one piece of advice for people that are working in the criminal justice space, whether they're workers or whether they're an organisation. Like, what's one thing that maybe they could do to think about doing or do better that could help, like, you know, people like you right now, or, you know, you when you was 15, 16, you know, like, piece of advice.
One of the pieces of advice is if you're in that work of area or you're in that work of field and you don't actually have empathy or the actual heart, and you're not in it for the right reason to actually try and help people or better the justice system or better these kids out of the system, then you need to quit and find another job, because that job's not for you if you're only there to get paid or to be a corrections worker because you're getting paid or to be something like that. You shouldn't be in that job. I think it's something that you have to be in there. Like, you don't have to be biased and be, oh, these kids or this person deserves every chance they can get. You don't have to be one of them goody teachers like, let this person off, let this person off. But it can't, you can't be in them, like, oh, this person did this crime, let's punish him. You can't be like that. That's one of my most important pieces of advice. If you're not in there because you actually want to see things change within the community, change within the justice system, change within that, like, don't be there. Like, there's no point of being one of those racist redneck cunts that sits on Facebook talking shit about everyone that commits crime in the page, or we're vigilantes, I want to chase them down, this and that, and then go and work in a job like that.
Totally.
And then you're just making these kids worse. And then when they get out, they're going to come back for you.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to work in a job, you may as well be in it for all. And the other piece of advice is really engaging with the, like, mental health side of things, especially for young offenders, because the mental health plays what I'd say is the biggest part of someone's offending and their engagement into especially the youth justice system. Like, a majority of kids going out offending, no kid goes out and wants to break in or do this or do that for nothing. Like, don't get me wrong, you get some of the kids that just grew up watching their big brothers doing that, and they're like, I want to go and be my big brother. But the majority of the kids, especially majority of where I come from in Alice Springs, kids are out doing that sort of stuff because they're at home with drug and alcohol in their house. They don't want to be there. They don't have clothes. They don't have this. They're going out and getting stuff like that to find a way to do it. And unfortunately, it's a bad way to do it. But it's the mental health sort of stuff, you know? I think that's the main part of, like, when people are first grabbed and this should be the main focus, is the mental health and the health and the well-being of what's happening around and at home.
Yeah. So you reckon if there was, you know, something like that for you or someone, young fellas like you when you was 12, 13, 14?
I think that when I was a young kid, I think if I was taught about my mental health and about even just about mental health in general, I think I would have had a bit more of an understanding on why I behaved the way I did as a kid.
Yeah.
Like, I had no understanding of mental health. I didn't know what mental health was. Like, I didn't know what schizophrenia was only until I got diagnosed for a couple of months. If someone told me what schizophrenia was right up until only a couple of months ago, I thought schizophrenia was someone that starts skitzing out and trying to kill people and stuff like that. Yeah. I didn't realize schizophrenia, like, I've got schizophrenia. I didn't realize that it's something where you could be walking down the street and you can hear voices and stuff like that, or, you know, see, like, I got diagnosed with schizophrenia, for example. I tend to hear some of the juvenile detention center officers. I tend to, like, be walking down the street and it's like I can just hear them and stuff like that on the side of the street, or like they're walking up behind me. Yeah. Or it's like sometimes I can be walking and I'll go into a psychosis, like I can see them walking right next to me, or I can see them doing the same things of what they did to me in the past, like right in front of me, and it's like it looks real, like real to my eyes. It's like I can see them there, but it's actually a replay of what happened. But I didn't realize that counts as psychosis, because I end up seeing things that aren't actually there, but it's like they've happened. Yeah. But that's what I get. Is it psychosis or is it trauma, but that won't get out of my head? That's what I don't get as well. Like, is it really, they diagnosed me with psychosis and kind of wanted me to put me on the depot shot and stuff like that. I said I don't want to go on the depot shot. I've seen too many people go from like having some problems and being naughty, being like,
yeah, my mum used to have that.
And I don't want to be one of them ones that walk around dribbling myself, because I know for a fact if they got me like that and got me in a prison setting, I'm gone.
Yeah. But it's really, I know we're coming towards the end. I won't keep you for too long, but if you ever get a chance, listen to the podcast we shot before this, because that guy, Osher, he talks about his psychosis and how he dealt with it, because he was on some really heavy meds.
Yeah.
And they wanted to put him on really heavy stuff like that. And he's got to the stage where he's been able to live off meds. He's back on a little bit of meds at the moment.
Yeah.
But, you know, you think about like the healing and treatment journey, you know, for what it can look like for us.
Yeah.
It's not just always what the system wants to just start injecting in and going
100.
straight to, and, you know, all that sort of stuff as well. But, bro, I just want to say thank you so much, you know. I feel like we've, I don't, you know, you coming in here off your own back, giving your own time to share this sort of stuff. Like you said, if there's one person, there might be one person that thinks we're a pair of gronks talking about this, but there'll be one person, 100%, that listens to us having a yarn today that takes something from it.
Whether, like, I'm pretty sure we touched on pretty much like 400 different topics. So I'm sure they can take something from one of the things that we've talked about, and whether they relate to, whether it helps them, or whether it might even be a mum or a dad or someone sitting at home that might have a young kid that could be going through some behavioral problems, how I didn't kind of think, oh, that didn't work for him, so like don't want to do that to him, like, you know, so not like the same mistakes as me kind of thing. 100%. Or even just like hearing about what sort of things help me and stuff like that might take some of those things away and imply it, or a corrections officer might be watching or something and they'll be able to apply that to their sort of work tactics or the way that they go about work and stuff like that. Definitely, brother. Well, hopefully this is the start of us staying connected. However that looks like, whether we, you know, rolling around doing some jiu-jitsu or whatever, bro. Maybe come in and do some work with us, who knows. But I'd like to stay connected, because you're not far from the office. And it's been really good to finally get to meet up in person.